So this is what we got. We got that we were evolved. We are evolved from the beginning of creation. Everything is from the beginning of creation, but restarted. So you got the beginning of creation, which then created these organisms and stuff on planet Earth when life became livable for organisms and things now from the creation and the atmosphere of planet Earth existing. So these organisms now are alive and now are eating and fertilizing the planet. So now you will get trees and plant life from this fertilization of these organisms on planet Earth that will now fertilize planet Earth. Which then, once you get plant life and trees and things like this, you will now get insects. So now you will have plant life and you will have insects. So then an asteroid will then hit planet Earth, causing the destruction, which has been created, will now combine into one new existence or new existences that will now create new organisms that will now restart planet Earth once again, and these organisms will now reproduce once again, and they will evolve once again into fertilizing planet Earth and plant life and things growing, and then insects then being created, and then these other new organisms now will create the new animals and things that will now be created from these new organisms that will now evolve also in the same process that everything else will evolve just from the beginning, just like it always is. Then you will get another asteroid that will hit planet Earth again, which has happened multiple times. So every time an asteroid hits planet Earth, and these organisms and the molecules and the particles and all of this then combine to make these new organisms that will then evolve and grow and eat and fertilize planet Earth, and then the same process will then happen again, but it will be a new existence on planet Earth. See, the existence of planet Earth is what allows these things to be created, because you now have a living creation, a living existence that this bacteria and all of this stuff and these organisms that can now evolve into living things that can now live on planet Earth, and they can create new existences and new life forms from their previous existence once they're combined. When an asteroid hits, then these are combined, whatever they were made out of. Say you got a bug with fur or something like this, or a plant that has fur or this or that. These different DNA and these different the difference of these now will be combined into a new creation of a new organism that will now take place on planet Earth once existence is livable again on planet Earth, and these new organisms will now do the same process of eating and dying and fertilizing planet Earth and evolving into the being that it is going to become. Just like everything else will evolve into the being that it will be. And the determinant of the size of things is, well, every time an asteroid hits planet Earth, well, that fluctuates, you know, the atmosphere and the level of, you know, oxygen and gases and things like that. So you would think that if it was in the beginning that things were being born and created, that there would have been oxygen at a lower level, that the higher level would still been probably contaminated air, you know. So the lower was oxygen, so it took time for it to stabilize back out to a certain level. You know, this is why you have different sizes. Like you have dinosaurs that were dinosaurs. That's because back then there was more oxygen and it was at a higher level and they could breathe, you know. And then once all of this happened, then the higher level now was not breathable. It was probably poisoned air or contaminated or, you know, dust or whatever, and you couldn't breathe it, so you had to go low to get the oxygen. So that's probably why you got midgets, and then you got normal size, or if you want to call this your average size people, and then you got taller people, which used to be giants back in the day before. You know, the fluctuation of the atmosphere and breathable oxygen is most likely the cause of that, you know, an existence restarting. And then you got, which creates, you know, everything again in the same process. But the things that happen differently, and you get different ingredients, you know, and different things get different ingredients. Obviously, if you're in a different land or in a different area, that, you know, it's not going to be the same where an asteroid hits. You know, it's going to take more time for the planet to become livable, you know, than if it's somewhere else where you probably could still survive, or, you know, it will be livable sooner than the rest of the planet will take time to become livable again, and life will then reproduce exactly the same as it always has and it always will. This is the existence of life on planet Earth. This is how things become, from organisms and fertilization and the repeating of restarting life and combining of all of this that previously was now will create the new organisms, then will then create, you know. So if this was to happen again with us on planet Earth, maybe we could create an even more advanced human being, maybe, or an alien or something, you know, what would be after us, because we all go off of what we eat. You know, frogs eat insects and leaves and trees because they come from that. You know, everything goes off of what it eats. So you figure off of that and you figure where it comes from. You know, so basically that's how that works. Just like maggots and rotting food or something, eating that.